Good evening, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis, which goes live every day at 4 p.m. And today is 7th of May. Now, all of you, including me, we all got up with a very great news that Indian government, aided by Indian Armed Forces, particularly the Air Force, they have responded in kind in Pakistan by bombing the key terror locations located in POK and also in the state of or in the province of Punjab in Pakistan. Now, this operation was not just a retaliation, but it was also a signal to everyone, because if you look at the name of this operation, it was called as Operation Sindoor, and Sindoor is the word which is used for vermilion, which is a show that a woman is married. A woman applies the vermilion on her forehead, showing that she is married. And in the terror incident which happened in Pahalgam, people, including Indian citizens and one Nepali citizen, they were killed in cold blood by headshots, and they were just killed because they belonged to one particular religion, and this resulted into loss of lives of many people who were husbands, who were sons, who were brothers to Indian women, and therefore this mission was symbolic. And even after the mission, you see that the press conference that Indian government did, it was led by the Foreign Secretary, Mr. Vikram Misri, and he was supported by two women officers of the Indian Armed Forces, that is Colonel Sophia Qureshi of Indian Army and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh of the Indian Air Force. So this shows the right messaging by the government. This shows that Indian government and Indian Armed Forces is capable to respond in kind to any threats that might occur to India and to Indian citizens. Understood? So having said that, let us start our today's discussion. We are going to discuss important news and articles. First article, no need to worry, I'll be talking about Bhakra Beas Management Board, because this article I've been meaning to cover since last 2 days, but because of paucity of time, we were unable to do so. So I've made it a point to cover this article in the first. Now this article indeed appeared in the primarily on the Monday's newspaper, but I saw even yesterday and today some details about the Bhakra Beas Management Board is there in the newspaper. So we'll cover in detail what this Bhakra Beas Management Board is all about and why is it a news. It is a news because of the problem that is faced between the states like Punjab and Haryana over the sharing of river waters, that is of river Satluj. Now, second article will also be covering the genome-edited varieties of rice. Why genome-edited varieties of rice has been in news? Because India became the first country to actually bring about these genome-edited rice, which is expected to provide better yields. Now, rice is probably the most important crop when it comes to Indian agriculture, and also it is responsible for providing food security to as much as 40% of Indian citizens. Therefore, rice and any attempts by the agencies to increase the yield of that particular crop becomes important. So we'll try to understand what is genome editing, how it is different from genome modification or genetically modified crops, GM crops. So we'll understand this in our today's discussion. Now, first article is relevant from GS paper 2 perspective. Third one is basically relevant from GS paper 3 perspective, that is Science and Technology. In the third article, we'll be covering about the details related to Chenab River. Why Chenab River is in news? Because as you understand, before retaliating militarily, Indian government also retaliated diplomatically against Pakistan, and one of the key retaliation measure was keeping the Indus Water Treaty into abeyance, which means India will not follow the provisions of Indus Water Treaty until unless Pakistan get rid of the terrorism. Now, one of the consequences of India keeping the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance is that India is now restricting the flow of the rivers that were originally designated to be used by Pakistani people. One of this river is Chenab River. So we'll cover each and every detail about this river, why this is relevant, why this is in news, various facts which might be important from your exams perspective, and in addition to that, we'll also solve a PYQ which appeared on Indus and its river systems back in 2021. In the fourth article, we'll be understanding a non-tariff measures that have been imposed by the European governments, particularly European Union and UK, that is Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Now, this is a kind of instrument or a policy measure brought by these countries to disincentivize imports from another countries like India. So, what this entails, how this works, we'll try to discuss it. Third article is relevant from GS paper 1 perspective, that is the syllabus of geography, and fourth article is relevant from GS paper 3 and also from environmental and economic point of view. Fifth article will be understanding about the weight loss drug that is in news known as Ozempic. Why this is in news? There was this article in the newspaper yesterday that it saw using of this drug can also prevent some kind of liver diseases. So what kind of liver diseases that this prevents, we'll try to discuss it in our today's discussion. Now this weight loss drug, that is semaglutide and tirpisatride, we'll cover this in our today's discussion. These are relevant from GS paper 3 perspective, that is developments relating to science and technology. And in the last article, also relating to science and technology, we'll cover one day one genome initiative by the government of India, how it tries to benefit the researchers in the country, again relevant from GS paper 3, that is science and tech. So you'll see most of the articles, 3 articles are relating to science and tech, 2 article relates to river, and one of the article is relating to polity syllabus, that is sharing of river water. So no economy article today. Now the notes for this session, as usual, they will be available on my Telegram channel. This is called as ATS Live. So you can go and search this channel. If you haven't subscribed it yet, you can go and search it on the top right hand corner of your app. Alternatively, you have an option to scan this QR code. This will take you directly to the channel. Subscribe it and download the notes, which I will upload few minutes after the end of the session. Good evening, Baga. Yes, what a start to the day. Very good start. Bhanu, this was long deserved. This justice was served indeed. Bhanu, good evening. Shweta, Rishi, Shushmita, Tanvi, Sonu, Oscar the Siberian, Yashi, Priyalata. Sometime I laugh at your names. Oscar the Siberian. Very funny. Reshma, also good evening. Priyalata, also good evening. Now, let us start our today's discussion by this article that has been long pending. This article relates to the water sharing disputes that is happening between state of Punjab and Haryana. Now the sharing of river water of the rivers that are flowing in the state, this task is given to BBMP, that is Bhakra Beas Management Board. So we'll try to cover this issue and also learn us about few details about the BBMP. Now this is relevant from the GS paper 2 syllabus, particularly polity, that is disputes relating to share of river waters. Now why are we discussing this? Because Punjab government has indeed rejected the decision made by the Bhakra Beas Management Board to release extra 4,500 cusecs of water to the state of Haryana. So the disputed parties in this dispute is state of Punjab and Haryana, and the body which is trying to play the role of mediator is Bhakra Beas Management Board. So in this regard, let us understand the background of this issue. First, this issue began in April 23rd when Haryana government sought additional water, that is 8,500 cusecs of water from Bhakra Nangal project. Out of this, Haryana government wanted 4,500 cusecs more than what it is currently receiving. So this fact is not important. What you need to know is because of some reasons, Haryana government is seeking additional water more than what it is getting from the existing agreement, right? Now in that regard, whenever Punjab CM, he refused to comply with the directions of Haryana government, saying that he will not give this decision to provide extra water to the Haryana. Rather, he said this work or this task is given to the BBMP, that is Bhakra Beas Management Board. Now, understanding this issue, there was this marathon meeting that happened in BBMP, which was led by its chairman and 3 member states in BBMP that are BJP ruled, that is Haryana, Rajasthan and Delhi. They voted in favor of releasing extra water to Haryana, effectively bypassing the Punjab's opposition in this committee. Also party to this is Himachal Pradesh, which is also ruled by Congress, but this does not give a particular vote. So therefore, the decision of Punjab government was overruled by other 3 states that are ruled by BJP. Punjab is ruled by Aam Aadmi Party, right? Now in this regard, let us understand how BBMP originated. Now it was conceived originally in the 1910s, where Bhakra Nangal project was among the earliest of post-independence river valley development project. This started in 1910s and was completed after India got independent under the Prime Ministership of Pandit Nehru. Now this comprised of 2 separate but complementary dams. These are dams located on river Satluj, that is Bhakra Dam, currently located in the state of Himachal, and the Nangal Dam, which is located some 10 kilometers downstream in the state of Punjab. So we are studying about river Satluj and particularly 2 dams, that is Bhakra and Nangal Dam. So this is one particular project where 2 separate dams were created. Now what you need to understand, earlier there was this one state known as Punjab, which covered existing areas of Himachal Pradesh, few areas of Himachal Pradesh that are plains area, Punjabi speaking probably, and also the current state of Haryana. So there was this no dispute because it was one state. So they divided the region, intra-region waters accordingly. But this state automatically split into 3 different states, Punjab, Haryana and few of the portions were attached to the then Union Territory of Himachal Pradesh, making it a separate state. Therefore, Bhakra Nangal project was under the, back then when it was a unified state, it was under the direct control of Punjab government. But after the state got bifurcated into three different areas, a Bhakra Management Board was established in 1963 under the Section 79 of Punjab Reorganization Act of 1966. Now, this was done to administer the project in best interest of all three states, because you can't give the direction of how to divide waters and this project in one state, otherwise dispute will happen. So, a separate authority was created as per the act passed by the Indian Parliament. Now, this body earlier was called as Bhakra Management Board. This was renamed as Bhakra Beas Management Board in 1976 when the Beas River projects were also added to it. So, this is the evolution of the body, right? Now, few details about the Bhakra Beas Management Board. This board, it manages water and power sharing from the Bhakra Nangal and Beas River projects. So, all those projects and dams which are located on these two rivers, in river Satluj and Beas, that is Bhakra Dam in Himachal Pradesh, Nangal Dam in Punjab, Beas Satluj link project in Pando, again in Himachal, and Pong Dam also in Himachal Pradesh. So, we are talking about these particular dams, that is Ranjit Sagar Dam, Pong Dam, Pando Dam and Bhakra Nangal Dam. So, division of power and water from these projects, this is overlooked by the authority known as BBMP. Okay. Now, BBMP today, it plays a central role in distribution of water between states like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh and Delhi. So, understand, government of Himachal Pradesh did not vote. Delhi, Rajasthan and Haryana, all of these three states are ruled by BJP. They ruled in favor of Haryana seeking extra water, whereas Punjab voted against this. So, effectively, this overruled the Punjab's opposition. Now, at the start of every accounting year, roughly between September and August, depending on the monsoon season, BBMP, it determines how much water will be allocated to each state. So, for current year, it allocated 5.512 million acres feet of water to Punjab, 2.987 million acres feet of water to Haryana, 3.318 MAF to Rajasthan. So, this was the existing division. Please pay close attention to how much it allocated to Haryana, very close to 3 million acre feet of land. Now, Punjab government is claiming that Haryana has already withdrawn more than what it was allocated, that is 3.110 million acres feet of water, that is amounting to about 104% share of its whole year. Now, the water levels on the existing projects in the BBMP, that is Ranjit Sagar Dam on River Ravi, Pong Dam, these are lower than what it was last year, mainly due to less snowfall in the Himalayan this region, and the water level also in the Bhakra Dam is lower than last year. So, the Punjab government is saying that these reservoirs, they have less amount of water as compared to last year. However, Haryana government is saying that it desperately needs more water, particularly for drinking purposes, to supply in water-starved districts like Hisar, Sirsa and Fatehabad. So, therefore, any concerns regarding of any state, particularly not for agricultural reason, but for drinking water purposes, should be looked into it more seriously. And this was the reason also in the Kaveri river water dispute, where Supreme Court, under using its power under Article 142, changed the decision made by Kaveri River Water Dispute Tribunal. It allocated more water for Karnataka so that it can be used for drinking water purposes, particularly in city of Bangalore. Now, Punjab has refused to open additional gates to provide water to the Haryana from Nangal Dam, which would release extra water. As a result, Haryana government has said that it will move to Supreme Court to secure its fair allocation, and Punjab also is exploring legal options to contest the decision made by the BBMP. So, this is an ongoing development. Any future development, if it happens, we will discuss it in our today's session. No need to worry. Now, let's see if you are able to solve this particular question. I have curated this question, missing out on one fact, which I will tell you after this question. Okay, so please solve this question. Good evening, Reshma. Yes. Sarang ne Dikhraj. Bhanu says option C. Anyone else? Reshma says option A. Yashi says option A. Why can't it be Jal Shakti Ministry? It is a water sharing project. So first statement, all of you agree this is a correct statement, no need to discuss this. Second statement, this body, it functions under the control of Ministry of Power, not Ministry of Jal Shakti, right? So second statement becomes incorrect, therefore option A. Most of you have gotten this right. I wanted to explain it to you that this body comes under Ministry of Power. Now moving to the next article, this appeared also in 2 days back, but I lost out on this article because of timing constraints, so I am covering it today. This is a very important article from our exams perspective. It talks about that ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, it marks a first and by developing 2 genome-edited varieties of rice. Now this article is relevant from science and tech perspective, so we are going to deal with it. Now the context of this discussion is Union Agricultural Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, he announced that 2 genome-edited rice varieties were developed in India by ICAR, and India has become a first country in the world to develop a genome-edited rice. Right. So in this regard, let us understand what kind of rices have India developed. Now, if you look at the table, India has developed 2 varieties of rice known as DRR Rice 100. Popularly, it will be called Kamla, and Pusa DST Rice 1. Now, these were developed by 2 different institutes, but both of them come under ICAR. First one was developed by ICAR in Hyderabad, second one in IRI Pusa, very close to the Patel Nagar region in Delhi. Now the parent variety of these rice was Samba Masuri for Kamla and M21010, that is Cottonodora Sanalu for the Pusa rice 1. Now the key traits which these rice has, that it increases yield by almost 19%, which means the productivity of this rice is higher. So automatically the farmers who are growing this rice will automatically get more rice for their produce. Similarly, it matures 20 days earlier, which means the water requirement for this rice would be less. And as you understand, rice is a water guzzling crop. So overall it is quite beneficial for our environment because this rice production would require less water. Also, it is climate resilient. Why? Because overall greenhouse gas emissions, particularly methane, this is quite less in this particular variety of rice. Similarly, for the second rice, it increases yield by 10 to 30% and particularly in use in saline and alkaline soils, right? So this is why these 2 kind of rice is significant. Just remember these 2 names and their key traits. Now, what you need to understand, that the technology that was used to develop these rice, this is called as genome editing, and the technology used was known as CRISPR-Cas9. You understand, CRISPR-Cas9 is a technique where we first sequence the genome of a particular organism, then we make corrections using the cutting tool in this known as Cas9, and by using the genome editing, we get a different trait of rice. This actually belongs to the original trait but with different qualities. Now this genome editing technique, it makes or it enables the scientist to make targeted changes in the native genes of any living organism. So technically you can edit the genome of human beings and you can also edit the genome of crops. Now this creates a new and desirable trait without, what you need to understand, that it does not introduce any foreign DNA. This is very different than what is known as genetically modification of crop, because in genetically modification of crop, we most of the time introduce foreign DNA or foreign substrates into the organism. Therefore, when it comes to regulation of GM crops, it is much more stringent in India. We are only growing one GM crop in India, that is GM cotton. Other GM crops are not permitted in India. When it comes to genome editing, the regulation is quite liberal in nature because you are not introducing any foreign DNA. Therefore, it is somewhat more agreeable to Indian government and also to Indian farmers. So, genome modification is a different thing. Genome editing is different thing. Please do not mistake these 2 facts. Okay? Any doubt in genome editing and genome modification? This is genome editing, not genome modification. Genome modification is when we introduce foreign DNA into the substance. Now the approach which was used, it approached SDN1 and SDN2 techniques. this produces genetically edited organisms that are considered indistinguishable from the naturally occurring or conventionally growing crops, and these are exempted from stringent biosafety regulations as per the provisions of EPA 1986. However, if you were making GM changes, that is genetically modified crops, you have to take permission from the GEAC, that is Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, before getting it into production commercially, right? So therefore it is different. You need not take permission from the EPA because this is not, you're not bringing any foreign DNA into the substance. Okay. Now, why this breakthrough, particularly in rice or paddy, is very important, because you understand paddy is the India's principal crop of Kharif season, which is the monsoon season, and it is grown in 1/3 of entire area which is under cultivation in India. Now, in terms of its contribution to food, it contributes 40% to India's food grain basket, and therefore it becomes very critical to nation's food security. States in northeast, states in eastern part of the country, even states in the southern part of the country, rice is their staple food, right? So therefore it is quite essential for us not to be dependent on imports for meeting our domestic requirements of rice. Therefore we are one of the major growers of rice in the world. Now, the major states that grow rice, these are West Bengal, UP, Punjab, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, Bihar and Assam. And all of these states, probably barring Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Punjab, all of these states, people prefer rice as their staple food, right? Now, as per the Agricultural Ministry, paddy, which is grown both in Kharif and Rabi season, it is grown in Kharif season in northern states, whereas it is grown even in Rabi season in southern states also. Now, it accounted for 45 million hectares of area, which was highest in the world in 2020. So, you'd think India's production of rice is highest in the world, but this is not that, because in terms of production, India lags behind China in terms of production of rice. So, India is second largest producer, China is the largest producer. And why India is producing less when it has the largest amount of area anywhere in the world under rice cultivation? The reason is yield in India for rice is lower even from the world's average, because India's yield is 4,138 kilograms per hectare. Compare that to world average, it is 4,717. China has almost 70% of more India's yield, that is 7,043. Indonesia has 5,000. Even Bangladesh has higher yield of rice as compared to India. So despite this fact, India is the second largest cultivator of rice. Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular question. It is quite straightforward one. I'd expect all of you to answer it correctly. Yes, Bhaga, Bhanu, Yashi, Reshma, all of you are right. Both of these statements are correct. You need not need explanation because this is a straightforward one, right? Now moving to the next article. This article also appeared in yesterday's newspaper, and it says Chenab runs dry near Pakistan as sluice gates of Salal and Baglihar dams are closed, right? So in this regard, let us try to discuss few facts of Chenab River. Why are we discussing it? Because parts of Chenab River in the states of Jammu and Kashmir, very near to the Pakistan border, has started to dry up after India closed all of the gates of Baglihar hydroelectric power project and the Salal dam. Both of them are located on Chenab River. And as per the original Indus Water Treaty, the Chenab River is categorized as a western river, which means the waters of this river is primarily allocated to Pakistan. However, India retains the right to develop run-of-the-river hydroelectric project. What is a run-of-a-river project? You are using the natural flow of the river to move the turbines, and therefore you are able to produce hydroelectricity. But India had to ensure, as per the Indus Water Treaty, it cannot alter the flow of this river significantly. But now, as India has kept this treaty in abeyance, therefore India is not eligible to follow the provisions of this treaty, right? So in this regard, let us understand what is the river Chenab. As you can see from this image, this is the Indus river water system. Three rivers, Beas, Ravi and Satluj, these are allocated to India. India can utilize 100% of these waters, and Chenab, Jhelum and Indus, these are called as Western River, and these are primarily allocated to Pakistan, and India can construct run-of-the-river mill projects, but it cannot alter the flows of these western waters significantly as per the Indus Water Treaty. Understood? Now, please make sure to remember this map. The question might appear, which of these following rivers are located, say, from west to east or east to west. So, please remember the sequence, okay? Now, few facts about Chenab River. This is a river of Indus River water basin, and it originates in the confluence of two rivers known as Chandra and Bhaga. So, earlier it was also called as Chandrabhaga River, and it originates in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Now, in India, emerging from Himachal Pradesh, it flows through the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir before entering Pakistan, and in Pakistan it eventually merges with Satluj River to form what is known as Panjnad, and this Panjnad later joins the river Indus. Now, this is also the world's highest railway bridge, known as Chenab Railway Bridge, has been constructed on this very river. So, please remember this important fact. Also, what you need to know, historical names of this river. It was known in the Rig Veda as the river Akshini, which means dark colored waters. It was referred to as Krishna in Atharva Veda, and in the Mahabharata period, it was called as Chandrabhaga. Now, the Greeks also have recorded the evidences of this river. They called this river Snadfrogus, Sandabhaga, as well as Cantabra. And the present name of river known as Chenab, it evolved under the Persian influence. So, this is how the names of this river have changed historically. You can remember the names as per the different Vedas. Please remember these names that I have highlighted, okay? Now, the major hydroelectric projects that are located in Chenab, you also need to remember that we were discussing Baklihar and Salal Dam. Also, Ratle River project, based on which the Pakistan and India went to court of arbitration in the World Bank, because World Bank was the mediator of the treaty. Also, Dulhasti, Kishtwar project and Kiru project, all of these major hydroelectric power projects, these are located in Chenab River. Okay, now let's see if you are able to solve this PYQ of 2021. This also relates to the Indus River water system. Which of the Indus River, following the four rivers, three of them pour into one, and which joins Indus River? So, among the following, which of such river directly joins the Indus River? You have to answer this quickly. Now, if you look at the map, what are the four rivers we are dealing with? Chenab, Jhelum, Ravi and Satluj. So, Jhelum, you see Jhelum is meeting Chenab here, right? And Chenab itself, it is meeting Ravi River here. So, it is not meeting the Indus River water system directly. Similarly, Beas also is meeting with Satluj. And if you see, Satluj is directly flowing here and it is meeting the river Indus directly. So, therefore, option D is the right answer. All of you have gotten this right. Bhanu, Amit, Rishi, Yashi, Reshma, all of you have gotten this right. So, Satluj is the right answer. Now, we were covering just Chenab River. Why? Because Chenab River is in use. But what about our other Indus River water systems? Where do they originate? Do they originate in India, China or Pakistan? How do you know this? You know this whenever we teach you that subject in the geography classes in the foundation batches, right? Similarly, in geography classes, we also deal with other important tributaries, say of Brahmaputra, of Yamuna, of Ganga River water systems, also of Godavari. And the admissions of the foundation batches, the last date for the May evening batches today. So, please do not forget to take admissions. You can take admissions in either of the courses, gold, platinum or diamond, whichever suits you the best. How to take admission? What you need to do, go to our website, click on explore courses. Suppose if you want to take admissions specifically in the English batch, you can do so by clicking this tile known as UPSC IS English, okay? What you need to do, click on this first tile, and the admission for this batch is starting from 7th. So, please take admissions in this. What you need to do, click on buy now, and it says that the course is right now available at 40,999. When you click on buy now, let me tell you a way where you can get this course for even more discounted value, right? What you need to do here, you are required to add promo code, go to this section and write ATS live. After writing ATS live, click on apply, and when you click on apply, you will see that the discount value of 7,000 rupees is applied and the diamond course is available at 33,999. Similarly, platinum is at 29,999, gold is at 19,999. My recommendation to you is take diamond batch, because all the benefits of StudyIQ platform that is there is available in the diamond batches. Okay. Gold and platinum also has few features, but not all as compared to diamond batches. Now moving to the next article. Sir, will there be a India-Pak war? No clarity. Seriously, even I am unable to say this. Well, the onus is now on Pakistan, whether it wants to escalate or not. Because technically, what Indian armed forces did, it did not strike Pakistani army or any of its defense forces, nor it killed civilians. It killed only the terrorist. So technically, if I were Pakistan, I would not respond, thinking my economy is not good as compared to India, so I shouldn't take any mischievous actions. Coming back to our discussion, this fourth article will be dealing with, it talks about India trade deal, which actually was signed yesterday, but this news is 2 days old, and it talks about due to UK carbon tax, India is stalling the implementation of the trade deal. So in this regard, the context is that many Western labor as well as environmental standards that are imposed by European countries, particularly UK, this is coming in between of signing of trade deal between India and UK. So in this regard, let us understand what is the measure that India is objecting to. This is called as Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and it originated in the European Union. Now, this is a proposed policy of European Union that would place a price on carbon content of certain imported goods. Suppose Europe is not a major producer of steel, rather it imports steel from countries like India. So it is trying to discourage the imports of steel from India, saying that India manufactures steel by emitting higher amount of greenhouse gases. So we should penalize this steel which is coming into India by adding some kind of a tax, and this is called as Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. This is a very basic explanation. Now, the primary objective of this measure is to avert carbon leakage, which is referring to a phenomena where an EU manufacturer moves its production to carbon intensive producing countries outside the region which has a less stringent climate policies in order to avoid carbon pricing or other climate resolution. Right. So suppose if European Union government, it imposes certain regulations on steel manufacturers who have factories in UK. So following those regulations, automatically the price of steel that they were manufacturing, say in European Union, the cost of that price or steel would be higher as compared to steel which is manufactured in, say, countries like India and China. So therefore these companies, they are locating or relocating their manufacturing units to other developing countries because the environmental regulations are not so stringent, and automatically the price of steel that they are manufacturing there is less as compared to the steel which is manufactured in EU, because EU is subjecting to many regulation. So European government is saying that this is unfair to us. So therefore, in order to equate the prices of these two steel, we will impose a certain kind of tax on steel which is imported from less carbon stringent countries like India. So under CBAM proposal, importers of certain goods into the EU, they would be required to purchase emission allowances at the same cost that EU companies are paying to follow the EU emissions trading system. Now, I told you about the carbon credit trading system, right? So if a company is emitting more than what it is required, it has to purchase certain kind of carbon credits from other companies who are emitting less. So therefore, they are required to pay for their higher emissions. Similarly, the manufacturers who are importing steel from other countries, they also need to buy these kind of credits in order to equate the prices of both these two steel, and this ensures that prices of steel or any metal for that matter, it is equal in the domestic market as far as the steel which is imported from other country. Therefore, this encourages trading partners to reduce their overall emissions. So this is what the European government is saying, but basically this is essentially a non-tariff barrier which is these governments are introducing a tax which would tax steel or cheaper steel which is coming from countries like India and China. Right. Now, this CBM was legislated as a part of European Green Deal. European Green Deal, which was approved in 2020, is a set of policies by European Commission with an overarching aim to make European Union climate neutral by 2050. Now, this CBM, it comes into effect from 2027 with reporting starting from 2023. So, Indian government is currently in negotiation with European countries like European Union, with UK in order to reduce this non-tariff barrier. Understood? So, this is basically a non-tariff barrier under the garb of less carbon emission. Now, let's see if you are able to solve this particular question. I like when someone like Baga gives an answer and adds a question mark with their answer. Well, it is a carbon pricing proposed by European Union to tax imports based on their carbon footprint. Correct. It promotes, or it aims to promote, global adoption of carbon neutral technologies by exempting least developed countries from its provision. Now, every time a developed country imposes certain kind of regulations according to the WTO provisions, they have to give the least developing countries some kind of a leeway or some kind of a less amount of stringent regulations. But this carbon adjustment mechanism, it does not differentiate whether steel is coming from less developed countries or developing country or from developing country. It is going to impose any kind of a restriction if that steel is manufactured from less carbon emitting sources. Okay, so therefore second statement is incorrect, first is right, option A is the right answer. Yes, all of you are right. Sonu, please read this again. Yes, no exemptions to anybody. Yes, correct. Now let us move to another article. This talks about wonder drug Ozempic. Ozempic has been in news because of its weight loss ability, right? Now researchers have found Ozempic drug, which is the commercial name of a drug. Chemically, it is a semaglutide drug. Okay, so basically semaglutide is what? Paracetamol. Ozempic is Dolo or Crocin. Dolo and Crocin is the commercial names of the paracetamol drugs, right? Similarly, the drug is called semaglutide. Commercial name of this drug may be Ozempic, maybe other thing, right? So this is effective. The researchers have found that this Ozempic drug is effective in treating metabolic dysfunction associated steatohepatitis, which is a serious form of fatty liver disease, right? Now it was developed primarily to treat diabetes, but now it is also in news because it is prescribed to achieve immediate weight loss. Now, few details about the Ozempic drug. These are primarily used to manage which kind of disease? Type 2 disease, right? Type 2 diabetes disease. And this Ozempic, it mimics the action of natural hormone known as GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agnostic drug. Now it stimulates insulin secretion in response to presence of high sugar in your blood. It reduces glucose production from the liver, and it also slows our gastric emptying, which helps in appetite control. And when it controls our appetite, automatically we eat less and it will lead to weight loss. Now this is how this drug functions. Once you need to take an injection of this kind of a drug, which may be Ozempic, which may be Wegovy, these are commercial names of semaglutide. Now once you take an injection, it suppresses your appetite, it increases the satiety, which means you feel satisfied even after eating less. It increases the feeling of fullness, decreases physical hunger, improves sugar management and hormones, decrease blood sugar and decrease sugar production. And also it has been found it decreases fat production in your liver, controlling your fatty liver diseases. An overall benefit of consuming this type of drug is reduction in weight, a reduction in your eating capacity, reduction in your diabetes, and betterment in your heart health. Now there are regulatory approvals that has been given to the drug. For example, US FDA, US Food and Drug Administration approved this for treatment of type 2 diabetes in 2017. Wegovy, which is another name of the semaglutide drug or another commercial form of the semaglutide drug, a higher dose version of semaglutide, Wegovy, was approved for chronic weight management in adults who have obesity and weight related conditions, also like hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and high cholesterol. Now coming to India, regulatory approval was recently provided to Mounjaro, which is a commercial name of a drug known as tirzepatide. Tirzepatide and semaglutide are similar drugs, both of which primarily deal with type 2 diabetes and also are used for weight loss. Now this approval was given in India by Central Drug Control Organization, and it was launched by Eli Lilly in March 2025. And this drug, Mounjaro, is now available in India through select pharmaceutical shops and hospitals. Now, are these drugs any kind of side effect free? The answer is no, because new therapies, they suggest, although they reduce body weight between 10 to 25%, however, they still have severe side effects like gastroparesis, which is a form of stomach paralysis, pancreatitis, which means your pancreas get inflated, and thyroid cancer. Now, person who is consuming this kind of a drug is likely to gain weight when they stop consuming this medicine. Also, the problem is these medicines are available at a very high cost, and also there is a very high demand for these medicines. Therefore, there might be an issue that you will be getting a counterfeit products, and also you might be required to produce and buy these medicines in black, in grey market. Understood? Now let's see if you're able to solve this question. Also a very easy question. These kind of questions are basically asked in exam, so need not worry. I'm not providing you willfully a easy question. This is how UPSC forms and drafts this question. Yes, option C is the right answer. It is an anti-obesity and anti-diabetic medication that mimics gut hormones. Which is the gut hormone here we are talking about? GLP-1RA. RA means receptor agnostic. Now let's move to another article. This talks about one day, one genome, which is important from science and tech perspective. So what this article is saying, that Department of Biotechnology over the last 5 months have released graphical summaries, infographics and other details of over 100 bacterial genome as a part of its one day, one genome initiative. So let us understand what this initiative is all about. Now this initiative was launched by Department of Biotechnology and Biotechnology Research and Innovation Council, and it was announced last year in November. Now the aim of this initiative was to publicly release the annotated microbial genome each day, enhancing the access of such data, that is microbial genomic data, for researchers and scientific community. And the key objective was to showcase unique bacterial species which are found in India, highlight their role of microbes in environmental health, in agriculture and human well-being. So when government is making these genome data available to scientists and researchers can use these data to conduct their research. They will not be dependent on paying the money to private corporations and other organizations to get these kind of data. Now the significance of this initiative is that it promotes innovation in microbial genomics by systematically uncovering and studying previously unknown genomes. It supports implementation of Bio E3 policy, which is biotechnology for economy, environment and employment, and it aims to unlock India's microbial potential, boosting research and industrial application, and it is expected to generate employment and stimulate startup ecosystem, particularly in the biotechnology sector. So when such kind of genome data are available in the researchers can develop or use these genome to make our crops better. They can use these genome to make vaccines and medicines. All of this in longer term would be beneficial for India. Understood? Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular question. With reference to the initiative one day, one genome, which of the following statement is or are correct? Well, it is an initiative by DBT and BRIC, correct? It supports India Bio 3 policy and expected to promote innovation, research, employment in biotech sector, correct. Second statement, it aims to sequence and privatize microbial genome for industrial application. Now sequence here is correct. Government needs to sequence first before making the data available. But is it privatizing the data? The answer is no. It is just making the data available to researchers and scientific community. However, the ownership of the data will remain with the government. So it is not privatizing it. So second is incorrect. First and third are right. Option C is the right answer. Yes, Reshma, all of you have gotten this right. Yes, correct. Now this is the end of the session. The notes I will make it available on ATS Live, and also in our today's video at 9 PM I will be covering the important and most famous military operations conducted by Indian Armed Forces. So please make sure to watch that video, because such questions in one way or the other might be formed or appearing in this year's prelims. Okay, so I'll see you again tomorrow at 4. Until then, please be safe and also have a very good evening and a very pleasant good night.